Hello to no one in particular. It's your reject off-brand Visco girl, and today I'm going to tell you about how I got in a fight in elementary school. I mean, it wasn't like a big fight, but it was like a scat, like there was pushing, there was shoving, and 10-year-old me may have said a bad word, if you know what I mean, like, oops. So I mean, there's not, so it wasn't like a full-on fight, but I must admit, I was one of those kids that took gym and recess super seriously, like as serious as the Olympics, but I was always someone you wanted on your team, just so you know, I was almost always one to be picked first. And I have many experiences, not just this one, but I grew up with 3 other siblings, and I know how to hold my own, okay? This time I was in 4th grade, and it was my class, we'll say green shirts, and then another class who wore, those, almost disposable jerseys that were interchangeable? They wore red, so we were green, and then they were red. And I never forgot the days we had gym. And every day I would wear these hand-me-down sneakers that I got from my older sister, and I would always wear them every day because to wear open-toed shoes were a hindrance, okay? I was one of those kids, and they were gray, and they had a red heart charm on them. I don't know why it's important to describe them, but, I remember them, and they had blue laces. They were, nasty, thick laces, though. And I wore them till they had holes in the soles. It was a Wednesday, and the weather was finally nice enough to hold gym outside. In elementary school, you usually just did games anyways. It wasn't that day we did capture the flag. And it was modified to be 8 quote-unquote flags, but really they were pool noodles cut in half. And so obviously we had green noodles and red noodles. And in the field of my school, there was a soccer field pretty much, and so we had the soccer goals, but they didn't have nets, and so we put the green team's green pool noodles on one side and then the red team's red noodles on the other, and the goal was to get all of the noodles on your side. To whoever had more noodles was going to win anyways, but also you didn't want to have anyone in jail. And so there was a white line on the grass that told us where the boundary was. And I was the fastest kid. I used to be really fast. Now I'm as slow as a turtle, but I was the fastest kid in my class. So I'd always be the one to go get the flags. You can only pick up 1 flag at a time. And, and so obviously there's the boundary. So once I would be in red team's boundaries, they could tag me and I'd go to prison or jail. And if I had a flag on me, I'd have to drop it and immediately go to jail. And, but I could get a teammate and they could come and get me. And by holding hands, we could run across the territory and, go back into our area. And so then I wouldn't be in jail anymore. And so, yeah. And so it was coming to an end of our gym time. There was 20 minutes left, and my team had all our flags, and we needed 3 more from red team. My team was doing the most. We were on the offensive, and we were capturing red team left and right. Most of them weren't even willing to come onto our side because we would just get them. But they were very protective of their flags, and they had just 3. We were running short on time, 20 minutes left, and before we could call it quits, I was going for a home run. I was going for a kill streak. I'd been tackling them. I'd been tripping them. I was that kid. And and so we're waiting, it's this standoff between them and us, and we have more flags than them, but, it wasn't we were going to just stop. They were still trying to get the flags. And so I saw an opening, and I had to take it. Alex, one of the fastest boys in the whole grade, spotted me from 500 feet. In 10 seconds, he was on the heels of me, and his hand was reaching out to even graze my shoulder. I jumped for the pool noodle. I hugged it between my hands, and I rolled. I passed the goal post, and I was safe. I was like an old Western standoff. Take 3 steps, then turn and shoot. At this point, most of Red Team was eyeing me like I was Carol Baskin's husband, and they were tigers. I was short on energy. I looked out past the hungry 10-year-olds and saw my friend. She gave me a short nod, and I knew the sacrifice she was going to make. She ran for the noodles, even flying past some kids, most of them toward her, but not enough. I took flying across the bowl coast, and they followed, twisting my whole body, snatching a 180. I fooled them and headed diagonally to safety. Once again, Alex was on my heels, my friends cheering me on. I looked back, and without hesitation, I whacked him with the noodle. It wasn't even a hard whack, it was just whoosh, okay, but losing balance myself, I toppled over, rolling into the boundary. He biffed it and landed hard. Whilst whistles blew and I knew I was in trouble, my team would win again, or would win anyways. I had more flags than the other team. Alex furrowed his brow and he approached me angrily. I staggered back. He ripped the pool noodle from my hands and hit me with it. Astonished, I shoved him. "Why'd you hit me so hard?" He exclaimed back, "You hit me first." Stealing a line from my older brother, "It wasn't that hard." Yeah, he pushed me on the ground. At this point, our teacher was on the scene, whatever was on the scene. He was trying to calm us down. He was breaking it up. He was like, "Whoa, you two need to calm down." And, and so he's like taking me away, separating us. And I turned back and I'm like, "Whatever, fatty." Yeah, like the ultimate insult. And he turns around and like, I think he was hurt. Like, I think he was like low-key offended. And so he says, "Okay, 4 eyes." And I was really self-conscious of my glasses. I've never liked wearing glasses. They've always been, like, as a kid who played hard as I did, like, they really were a hindrance to me. Like it was like an inconvenient thing to have was glasses. And I didn't think I looked good in them, and like nobody else had to wear glasses and I was the only one, and so I took it so personally and I was so offended, and so I was really insecure, and I remember just literally like I just turned around and like I just ran towards him and like I just hit him. Like I'm like, as like silly as this sounds, like I just hit him. I just like because I had 3 other siblings. I know how to fight. I've been hit by them plenty of times. And so I just swung my fist and I just hit him. And I remember he like pulled me down with him, and like he hit me too. But because I don't want it to come off as like more dramatic than it is. Obviously like I've been like embellishing this, but like I'd say that we were in like a bit of a spat. Like we were just like really going at each other. Like he pulled my hair. I hit him in his fat stomach, and like the teacher like was getting him off of me, and then another teacher was over there, and like they were just holding us back and stuff. And I missed out on PE for the rest of the month. We had PE every Wednesday. And so that's only 4 times to miss PE, but like, and the note we had to have taken home, and yeah, it was a whole thing. But I have always been like one of those people who do get in fights. I think it really comes from my background though, like growing up the way I did, because I have 2 brothers and then 1 sister. And, and there was no holds bar in my house. There was no, and like in my house, we would always fight over everything. Like we'd fight over who got to sit where. We would like shove each other, pull each other. And it was like, we were really rough players. But yeah, And before this, like, I don't know, I was I used to play animals. Like, like literally we just like, hey, let's go play animals with my two friends named Jenna and Lindsay. And yeah, and Lindsay, okay, she knew the scariest stuff. She would tell us about Bloody Mary, and she would tell us folklores. And oh my gosh, the one thing that like haunted me, and it haunted me for years, was the goat lady. She described her as a old haggard woman with a goat. And this was supposed to be about a fight, but like I spoke too quickly, and all of the stuff I was telling is ran out, and I still have way too much time in this video. But like, and she told me about this goat woman, and she described her as having like frazzled dark gray hair and skin. Like, this was 2nd grade. This wasn't like 4th grade. Like, we were friends in 2nd grade, and she was telling me this stuff. Like, this was from like a 2nd grader. I don't know how old you are in 2nd grade, but yeah, and it was something that haunted me. And she told me about Bloody Mary, and she's like, yeah, like, you know exactly what Bloody Mary is and stuff. And like, I wouldn't look in mirrors. I was too afraid to shower by myself. Like, I'd keep the door open while I was in the bathroom, and like, yeah. But really, the old haggard woman was something that like stuck with me, just like, because she went into such detail. She's like, yeah, and she was murdered this way or that way. And I was like, wow. But back to playing animals. We'd play animals, and so we'd be like, oh, well, today I'm a dog, and we're gonna do this and that. And like, the school that I went to, they had crabgrass. I don't know if you've ever experienced crabgrass, but it's horrible. It's not real grass. It's like this, almost like this synthetic, nasty plastic grass that's supposed to like grow really fast and like be not sustainable, but like cheap and like easier to keep keep maintenance on than like regular grass. But like, I would come home and I would have like these like cuts on my legs, like similar to paper cuts, and like I'd always find like a plethora of new cuts when I would go home and shower, and like, because my skin would hurt, and it's like, what is that? And it's like, oh, I have like 50 new mini cuts on my legs because I would pretend to be a dog or a liger in the grass at school. But yeah, that's like one of the first fights I've been in with people outside of my family. And then I'm gonna think about, because a lot of it was like, because I think it could be kind of repetitive if I told you about every fight I'd been in, but like, I could tell you about the one my Stephanie friend was in. This was 6th grade. This girl, we blame too much on hormones sometimes, but like, so emotional. I just remember how emotional my friend group was. We were a girl gang, okay? And we had gang names. We had gang names for ourselves, and I won't tell you mine because that's top secret. And I don't think no one was ever going to find this, so she's never going to remember. But I follow her on Instagram, and like, I just think about like just everything. But it was 6th grade, and it was obviously like gym class again, and it was like this mixture between basketball and, I want to say dodgeball, but like, it was, I don't know, it was like we threw things at people, but she got hit, and she was disputing it. She's like, no, I didn't. And the person who quote unquote hit her like was like, well, I did. And I believed Stephanie, obviously. And our gym teacher was such a biatch, okay? She was a real biatch. And I mean that. she was really rude and there wasn't a fairness to the game. And so she, and so she's like dramatic. And so the teacher's like, okay, we need to have a talk. Let's go talk, Stephanie. And Stephanie had been a problem before. I don't know why she was such a dramatic girl, but I lived for it. I went to school living for that stuff, for the drama that she brought. And so there's talking, and she's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. And so, like, she had this stress ball, and she was going to go get the stress ball, and the teacher, like, grabbed her, and she's like, don't walk away from me. And, like, Stephanie, like, ripped her arm from her, and she's like, don't ever touch me. She, like, screamed, and I'm like, oh boy. And Stephanie just books it out of the entire building. And I was so astonished. Everyone is like, like nothing had ever happened as so dramatic as this. And it was such a big deal to leave the premises without an adult, I mean, we're 12 years old at this point, but it was like, whoa, she's leaving the building without permission. And it was crazy. And I remember I like went running out in the hallway, and I saw her leave the building, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was going to go after her, but like the teacher's like, you're going to stay here. And I was like, okay. But yeah. And I don't know. And then she was brought back in like a prisoner, okay? Like, they more or less had her in handcuffs, and I was, like, so concerned, and I was kind of, like, low-key thinking, like, I'm going to fight. If we have to fight, I'm here for her. We're ride or die buddies. We're ride or die buddies. And she was the first person to have ever invited me to a birthday party. And, like, we'd met, like, within a day, and she's like, hey, you want to come to my birthday party? And she gave me an invitation, and it had my name on it. And from that point on, I was ride or die for her. And I mean it. Like, even to now, like, if she like texted me out of nowhere, and she's like, hey, like, would you help me do this? Something illegal, something morally questionable? I wouldn't question it. I'd be like, yeah. She was the first person to have ever invited me to a birthday party that I could actually go to. I actually got to go to her birthday party. It wasn't even that fun. It was highly uncomfortable, highly awkward, because I didn't even know her that well. But I went, and I had the time of my life. Obviously not really, but I was ride or die for her. I was such a lonely child. I was so incredibly neglected by my peers, and so incredibly emotionally neglected by my siblings, that this was what I took for it. And I was ride or die for her. There was no question about it. And we became thick as thieves. No, it was a girl gang, okay? Like, we became as thick as gang members. I was there for her. She was there for me. I copied off her homework. She copied off of me. We were there. And, like, man, there's a lot of, we were so young, like, and because I'm able, well, not right now in this moment, but, like, ever since then, like, I always have been able to hang out with my friends, but, like, I think about how often, like, I did get to hang out with her, and, like, that was, like, such a maturing point for me in the context of, like, socially maturing. And yeah, 20 minutes of me talking, it's really hard to listen to, and it's really hard to fill up these 20 minutes. I should really cut back on my drawings, because 10 minutes is good enough. So I'm learning my lesson now. I've learned my lesson to not show myself sketching and then coloring. I'm just going to color on camera, because it's going to take long enough. But to, like, show the sketching process, like, takes a lot. And I usually need a reference for my sketches anyways. Or it's just, like, a lot of, like, undoing, a lot of correcting proportions in my sketches anyways, so it's really not that fun. But if anyone actually watches this, it will be really cool. But also, you know what? If I did anything to please anyone, or if I did anything for anyone else, like, would I live my life the way I want to? No. But, yeah. So that's it. I will be back maybe with more stories, more embellished stories. Thank you, and goodbye.